0 games. Then 2 top 10 wins. Now this. Alex Eala walked off the court at Indian Wells 3 months ago having won exactly 0 games in the second set against Linda Nosková. Not 2. Not 1. 0. The final score read 6-2, 6-0. For anyone watching, it felt as though Nosková was operating on an entirely different level, that the gap between the two players was enormous, that the conversation had already been settled, and that there was nothing left to debate. Tomorrow, on the grass courts of Berlin's Steffi Graf Stadion, Eala gets to find out whether that impression reflected reality, or was simply a snapshot mistaken for the full picture. A lot has changed since Indian Wells following that defeat. Eala's ranking slipped from a career high of 29, drifting through the 30s and eventually into the 40s during the clay court season, a stretch of the calendar where her game has consistently looked less comfortable and less natural. Double faults continued to pile up. The serve, still the most scrutinized weakness in her game, remained a source of concern going into every match. Entering Berlin, she had produced just 23 aces across the entire 2026 season, a number that would be disappointing for most players ranked inside the top 100. Against that, 79 double faults. Those numbers do not represent a brief slump. They tell the story of a season-long structural vulnerability. For comparison, Linda Nosková has fired 173 aces this year, averaging nearly 7 per match. When you are standing across the net from a player capable of generating that many free points, while producing barely 1 ace per match yourself, the math becomes unforgiving. It was unforgiving at Indian Wells. And the difference was impossible to ignore. But Berlin has told an entirely different story. The grass court transformation. Eala arrived in Berlin as a wild card, a reminder that the tournament was under no obligation to include her in the main draw at all. Yet the grass court season had already begun to reshape her narrative. At the WTA 125 event in Birmingham, she captured the first grass title of her professional career, defeating Nicola Barčanová in the final. She came to Berlin carrying a 6-1 record on grass in 2026 and a momentum that could not be explained by surface statistics alone. In the opening round, she faced Donna Vaek, fresh off her title run at Queen's Club, playing some of the best tennis of her career, arriving with confidence and form on her side. She ran into an Eala who appeared to have unlocked a new understanding of grass court tennis. The left-hander controlled the key moments throughout and earned a convincing 7-5, 6-4 victory that did not feel like an upset born from luck or circumstance. It felt earned, calculated, and entirely real. Then came the round of 16. And this is where the story began to feel less like a sporting narrative and more like a script that might have been rejected for being too unrealistic. Beating the world number 2 Elena Rybakina. Second seed. World number 2. Reigning Australian Open champion. One of the most dangerous servers in the sport. Rybakina opened the match exactly as expected, 3 aces in her first service game, racing out to a 4-1 lead. In real time it looked like the start of a routine dismantling. Eala was down a break and facing a version of Rybakina that appeared completely locked in. What happened next revealed something about Eala that statistics alone cannot measure. She did not panic. She did not start forcing low-percentage winners or swinging recklessly for the lines. She adjusted. Recognizing that Rybakina was always going to produce aces, she focused on controlling everything else, keeping her unforced errors low, attacking the second serve with depth and precision, and steadily working her way back into the contest. She held to love. Earned the break back. Leveled at 4-4. Even fired a pair of aces of her own, matching Rybakina's power with composure and belief. She took the first set 7-5, closing it out after Rybakina's 23rd unforced error finally tipped the balance. In the second set, she broke early for 2-1, showed real composure when Rybakina saved 3 break points in a single game, then responded with an ace to consolidate for 4-2. Multiple commentators later pointed to a redirected cross-court forehand winner, taken off a Rybakina drive coming through the court with genuine venom, turned back with perfect timing and control, as the shot of the match. She served it out 6-4, even after Rybakina saved the first match point with a forehand winner of her own. At 15-30 in the final game, Eala produced her 4th ace of the match to close it out. Then she called her father. The two of them screamed into the phone, the emotion spilling over in real time. That was Thursday. Back on court less than 24 hours later Friday. Alina Svitolina. 6th seed. Former world number 3. Italian Open champion. 20 career titles. One of the most physically and mentally resilient players on tour. No sign of fatigue. No hesitation. Eala raced to a 4-1 lead in the first set, not waiting for mistakes, not reacting to pressure, but actively dictating play. She took the set 6-3, carried that control into the second, and closed it out 6-4. Total time, 1 hour and 23 minutes. The level of authority she displayed made the turnaround feel less like a surprise and more like a statement. 2 consecutive top 10 victims. Both in straight sets. Both finished in under an hour and a half. Both on grass, a surface where her record until this month had looked ordinary at best. She now sits at 8-1 on grass in 2026, with the only loss coming to Iva Jovic at Queen's Club before Birmingham changed everything. The opponent waiting tomorrow, Linda Nosková, has moved through the Berlin draw with the kind of cold, controlled efficiency that rarely dominates headlines but quietly unsettles everyone on the other side of the net. Round 1, Radka Zezalova, 6-1, 6-4. Round of 16, Diane Parry, 6-2, 6-2. Quarterfinal, Paula Badosa, 6-1, 6-3, in just 68 minutes. Across all 3 matches, no opponent has been able to consistently dent her service games. She has saved all 7 break points she has faced in this tournament. 7 from 7. Badosa failed to convert a single opportunity. At 21 years old, standing 5 feet 10 inches, Nosková brings a right-handed game built around a first serve that regularly exceeds 180 km per hour, followed by a flat-driven backhand that takes time away from opponents almost instantly. Her movement is improving. This is her first career grass court semifinal, meaning she is playing without the weight of history or expectation on this surface. She is not defending anything. She is simply arriving. And she is arriving in terrifying form. The head-to-head problem these two have met once as professionals on the WTA Tour. Indian Wells, March 2026. Nosková defeated Eala 6-2, 6-0 on a hard court in the California desert. The conditions suited raw power. Nosková's serve operated like an unreturnable weapon that day. Eala could not find rhythm, could not build pressure, could not sustain rallies long enough to change the pattern of the match. Afterward, she admitted she left with a bitter taste. But she also insisted she was proud of her Indian Wells run overall. She used a phrase that now echoes louder than it did at the time. She said she would be back. What grass changes, and what it doesn't. The honest analysis requires precision here, because grass is not a surface that automatically reverses the Indian Wells result. Grass rewards the serve. It rewards flat hitting, low trajectories, and first strike tennis. It rewards players who can produce free points without needing long exchanges. In almost every one of those categories, Nosková is built for this surface. Her game is constructed around exactly those weapons: pace, precision, and serve dominance. The lower bounce makes her flat backhand even more dangerous, skidding through the court and rushing opponents even earlier in the strike zone. On paper, the transition from hard courts to grass does not meaningfully reduce Nosková's advantages. But grass also rewards something less visible than raw power. It rewards anticipation over reaction, redirection over generation, and the ability to read court geometry in real time and take the ball early before an opponent fully sets their position. Those are precisely Eala's strengths. The same qualities that carried her past Rybakina, Svitolina, and Vake in this tournament run. She does not win by overpowering opponents. She wins by reading them. Against Nosková, however, that margin becomes thinner. Nosková does not offer many second serves to attack, nor does she provide long extended rallies where patterns can be built over time. The average Nosková service game ends quickly, often before rhythm can even be established. And when points end quickly, Eala's return game, the engine that drives almost everything she does, has fewer chances to take control. The Rybakina blueprint, and whether it can be repeated. The match against Rybakina showed that even against elite serving, entry points still exist. Rybakina produces a serve that is by most objective measures even more dangerous than Nosková's. She struck 13 aces in that round of 16 match. Yet Eala still found a way through. She did not neutralize every serve. Nobody does at that level of power. But she timed her resistance. She extended just enough returns into play, just enough rallies, to create persistent pressure. The break she earned at 5-5 in the first set did not come from a highlight reel return winner. It came from accumulation, from Rybakina's forehand tightening under the quiet but persistent pressure of knowing Eala would not disappear from the point. That psychological layer mattered more than any single shot. The question is whether that same blueprint survives against Nosková. The honest answer is that it is harder. Nosková's game after the serve is more stable, more metronomic. Where Rybakina can drift in and out of rhythm, Nosková tends to stay locked in. Where Rybakina can leak errors when rallies stretch, Nosková is more controlled, more repeatable, more disciplined in structure. She does not offer as many obvious windows. But she has also never faced Eala on grass. And she has never faced this version of her, one built on timing, confidence, and the accumulated belief that even elite servers eventually have to play the ball back. The physical reality. There is also the question of physical and emotional capital. Noskova's quarterfinal lasted 68 minutes. Eala's lasted 83 minutes, and that was after a 92-minute battle with Rybakina the day before. In pure workload terms, Eala has played more tennis this week, against higher-ranked opposition, in more emotionally charged situations. Bodies remember. Arms remember. Legs remember. That matters most when it comes to her serve, still the most vulnerable technical component in her game. When fresh, Eala can disguise it well enough, place it well enough, and hold serve without letting it unravel. But as fatigue builds, the mechanics become less stable, the rhythm less consistent, and double faults begin to creep back into matches at precisely the moments where control matters most. They have arrived all season, 79 in total. If they arrive tomorrow, Noskova will not need to force openings. She can hold serve, stay patient, and wait for the scoreboard to tilt her way. The match that will tell us something true: 0 games in a second set at Indian Wells. Then Vake. Then Rybakina. Then Svitolina. And now Noskova, the player who handed her that 6-0 set, back on the other side of the net, on a different surface, in a completely different week. The version of Eala that walks out tomorrow is not the same player who walked into Indian Wells in March. That match came on a hard court during a stretch where her form was still fragile and her confidence had not yet been rebuilt by the grass court swing that followed. Whether the rebuilt version is enough against this opponent, on this day, with this much already spent, that is what Saturday is for. She said she would be back. Tomorrow, we find out what that means.